Hey folks, Brennan here from Bluelight with another video stroke podcast to help you succeed in the police recruitment process. So today I'm taking a look at the role of police community support officer, because quite a few of my clients don't want to be police officers, but they really love the idea of being a PCSO. So in this podcast, in this video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a particular case study from an individual force to give you an idea about what they're looking for and what sort of questions they're going to ask you at your interview. Now, the one I'm using is North Wales Police. Why? Well, because one of my awesome clients today has signed up for one of my courses, the interview course, and I want to do my very best to help support them through the process to make sure that they're ready for their interview, which takes place next week. And so the interview course will help prepare you for the PCSO course, whether it's PC or PCSO, same sort of questions. You just have to do slightly different research. And also you have to be aware that, as with the final interviews for police officers, the PCSO interviews are just the same as in. They could ask you anything and they can make up their own particular assessment or interview instruments, so that they could ask you to do a presentation. They could ask you just simple questions. They might give you situational questions where they put you in a situation and ask you how you deal with whatever it is. They could do a written exercise. There is nothing from the College of Policing in England and Wales that says that you've got to do the PCSO interviews and assessments a certain way. So that's the first thing to get out of the way, that the only thing that's a standard is the College of Policing Online Assessment Centre, which for England and Wales, everyone who applies to Home Office force has to do that. PCSO, they can make it up as they go along. Special Constable, they can make it up as they go along. College of Policing can issue some guidance, but that's all it is. It's just guidance. They don't have to do it. Up to Scotland, they do their own thing anyway. They're not governed by the College of Policing, same with Police Service of Northern Ireland. So in the United Kingdom, we've got this mishmash of how to actually join the police with very little that's standardised. You could be forgiven for thinking it's all over the place. It's not all over the place. We've just got to know how to navigate the process, and that's what I will help you do. I've been helping people to succeed in police interviews and promotion boards for 26 years now. I've been involved in the police sector as a serving officer and retired officer, working alongside the police in various forms for 37 years now, and I've been helping people to succeed in the police recruitment process for over 10 years now. So well over 13,000 people have succeeded as a result of my support. So just awesome. Anyway, time to help more of you succeed. So the force that this individual is applying for is North Wales Police. Now, they're in a little bit of a tiz thinking, I don't know what sort of questions I'm going to get asked at my interview. So these are they. These are the ones that I think you're going to get asked. How do I know? Well, I do a little bit of research on the force and take a look at the actual advert that's out there in respect of North Wales Police, what they're looking for, what the role involves, some examples of some of the things you'd be doing on a day-to-day basis. And in particular, one of the pages was about the 6 key leadership behaviours which they're looking for. Now, this is where things get a little bit confusing, because the leadership behaviours that they're looking for don't actually reflect the competency and values framework which has been issued by the College of Policing. What they actually reflect is the old policing professional framework, I think it was called, the PPF, which was the precursor to the competency and values framework. It's what came before. Now, that went out the window in, I think it was 2016. So they're like 6 years out of date. 6 years out of date. Come on, North Wales Police. But they're not the only force that does this. Quite a few forces confuse candidates by saying you're going to get interviewed against these competencies. And people look at them and go, what are they? They don't relate to the competency and values framework. Well, actually they do. The competency and values framework is just a rehash of the PPF. Prior to that there was something else, and prior to that there was something else, and prior to that there was something else. I've seen all sorts of iterations of this is the sort of thing that you need to be doing and demonstrating to be an effective and efficient police officer or effective and efficient PCSO. All sorts of iterations along the way, and I'm quite sure the competency and values framework will go out the window one day and get replaced by something else. So let me go through them a little bit, and the deeper guidance on these, by the way, is available on the interview course, and with the interview course plus webinars option, that's where you actually get to practice with me on weekly webinars, which are just awesome, by the way. I love running them. And there's recordings of those available as well for those of you who are on that program. You can get to watch over a year's worth now of recorded webinars of people practicing and me debriefing them and us extracting the combined learning from those opportunities. So first of all, these are my predictions as to the sort of questions you might get. First of all, why do you want to be a PCSO? So steer clear of the cliches, folks. Give them an honest answer. I've got a whole module dedicated to this on the interview course where I show you how to build up a timeline. So you've got this really good set of answers based on this timeline of things that have inspired and motivated you along the years. Or it might be months, or it could even be weeks, because you might have only just recently decided I want to be a PCSO, and that's fine. Other questions to expect, things like, what do you expect from the role? What do you expect from the role? What sort of challenges do you think you might face as a PCSO? What sort of things you'll be doing on a daily basis? So questions that test your knowledge and understanding of what you're going to be doing, because we want to make sure that you've got a good understanding of the actual role that you're going into. Now we take a look at these 6 key leadership behaviours. The first one is public service. So I think one of the questions that you might get there is, can you tell me about a time when you've delivered an outstanding service? And there's one key that you need to utilise here to open up that answer, and it's people. It's people. A lot of people often give answers which are around, I delivered a great first aid, or I did something. Like one of my clients just recently tried to give me an answer. Well, they did give me the answer actually, to say that they came across a fire and they rang up the fire service and they helped knock on doors to help evacuate people from the houses nearby. Great job, great public service, or so we thought. But actually the behaviours they're looking for were not demonstrated in this answer. So we've got to get that right. We've got to understand what they mean by public service. Next question is based on then their openness to change leadership behaviour. Openness to change is now called innovative and open-minded. So what they're looking for is your ability to change and adapt and learn from experiences. It's not really any different from the innovative and open-minded competency. Next, decision making. So the question there might be, can you tell me about a time when you've had to gather information from a variety of sources in order to make a difficult decision? And so one of the big mistakes people often make there is they don't talk about a variety of sources and they don't talk about a difficult decision. They just talk about a decision. So there's another key here that we need to make sure that we include to open up the answer there for the difficult decision making question. That was one of the old competencies. Which one is it now? Well, that's when it can get a bit confusing as well, because analyze critically talks about decision making. The value of transparency talks about decision making. The value of impartiality talks about decision making. So I wouldn't focus so much on which one is it, which one is it. I'd focus more on answering the question in a structured way, and I show you the best structure that I've come up with over 26 years of doing this now. It's a structure that works. You find out all of the information about that in the online course. It's a SAL-Q structure. Forget STAR, just STAR. It's like a Janet and John book, that. You've got to be of a certain age to remember Janet and John books. But if you just answer the question in a structured way, with detail, and add some authenticity and emotional content to it, then you're going to nail it every time. So the next one is about service delivery. This will not be, immediately when you look at it, you'll think public service, service delivery, what's the difference? When you look at what service delivery involves, it's all about how you plan and organise your time. So expect a question which will be something along the lines of, can you tell me about a time when you've had to prioritise a number of tasks, or where you've had to plan and organise your time in order to deal with multiple demands on your time? So questions like that. Next one is working with others. This is now that's been replaced by we are collaborative. But this is all about problem solving. And this is an absolute banker for the PCSO role, because your role is predominantly around working with others to solve problems. So expect that question. Can you tell me about a time when you've had to work with others, or you've had to work collaboratively with others in order to achieve something or solve a problem? So expect questions like that. So there you go, folks. Those are my predictions for the PCSO interview for North Wales Police. At the moment, this client has only been told that they're going to have an interview. Other forces, I know, will give you more detail to say expect questions about how you would deal with certain situations. So those are situational ones. Often these are things like you've been called to an incident of antisocial behaviour outside some shops involving some young people. Tell me what considerations you'd have on the way to dealing with it, and once you're there, what would your thoughts be about the best way to actually deal with this matter? Or it could be something like you're out on patrol and you come across a 90-year-old man who seems very confused. How would you deal with this? So these are situational type questions, but this client's not been told to expect one of those. That doesn't mean to say you won't get one though. So we need to be cautious about that. And there's various different models I introduce you to that will help you deal with situationals. Other questions that you may get could be based on written exercises, or I know one force actually shows you a clip of something and then they ask you to describe what you saw. So it's testing your powers of observation. Like I said, all sorts of different exercises. Forces can make it up as they go along, and they can change it as they go along as well. But anyway, those are my thoughts on what to expect for the North Wales interview. It's based, as always, on my research into the force and what they're looking for. My guess is the bulk of those questions there will actually crop up on the interview. How can I be so confident about that? Well, it's what I do. I've been doing this for that long now. I can pretty much predict what sort of questions you're going to get asked. All you need to tell me is the force that you're applying to and what they've told you about their interview, and I can predict the rest for you. So for my precious client, my awesome client who is preparing for North Wales Police, I hope this has been useful for you. How to answer those questions is in the course that you're on. Make use of all the all the recorded webinars that you've got access to, and I'm sure you're going to nail it. And if you have any questions for me, you know where I am. You know how to contact me on Messenger. Do all I can to help support you. So until the next time, folks, I hope you enjoyed this podcast and this video. If you're watching this on YouTube, then do that subscribe thing, or if it's on Facebook, do that like thing. Apparently you get heads up whenever I release other videos. So always good if you're in the world of police recruitment and beyond. Because if this is the first time you've listened or watched one of these, what you don't know is I also provide guidance for people who want to get promoted, specialist interviews, everything you need to go from I want to join the police to I'm in the police and I want to do X, Y, and Z. Provide all you need for all of those different parts of your career. Look forward to catching up with you next time, folks. Bye-bye for now.